Alright guys, this may be a quick video, it may not. It may be genius, it may be a horrible failure, I don't know. But, I got an idea. When I was working on the next parachute cord micarta project, I thought about all the different scraps I had lying around of different materials, and I thought it might be cool to take some scraps of the, and using scraps is an ugly word, isn't it? Using the excess material I had, for example, some of the Kirnite and the Moonglow material, and cutting them up into little bits and making kind of like a glow-in-the-dark mosaic. So in here you have both Kirnite and Moonglow, blue and green, because I recently got some Moonglow blue, I think they call it ice blue, and it is really good. Here's, oh, super bright, oh my god, super bright. But it glows in daylight, it's so bright, that blue. And blue, you know, is hard to glow. But I decided to make a little mosaic of the pieces there, and we're going to use some, I haven't decided if it's going to be epoxy resin or if it's going to be the polyester resin that we used for the parachute micarta to fill the spaces, but I think this is actually going to have a really cool look for a scale. I have a very thin 0.03 inch piece of translucent green as the basis, G10, and I'm getting ready now to pour the, I should back up for a second. I spent a long time, first with the bandsaw, just trying to cut these small little pieces, these tiny little teeny pieces. It didn't really work out so well because a lot of them just fell into it and got like thrown all over the work area. So I ended up just using an old hobby saw I had, just a little tiny saw. And it was time consuming, but it worked pretty well to chop up some of the scrap pieces, little strips and stuff like this, into those little tiny bits you see there. So I think I'm going to use the clear polyester casting resin, because even though it is the most rancid smell ever, I know it's going to give me a crystal clear piece when I'm all finished with it. I know that I can control the curing process very well with the hardener it has, and I know that I can probably more accurately, with what I have to mix it with, control the amounts to get the perfect result. I was going to use the two-part A and B epoxy, but I'm just going to not use it because it's not perfectly clear. It has that slightly yellowish tint, and I don't want to mess up any of the colors that come out here. So I'm going to get this stuff all mixed up, and then all I did was kind of cut out that piece of G10 and surround it with some masking tape. So this is probably going to get a little messy. So I'm mixing up about 15 drops of hardener to 1 ounce of resin, which is what it's called for a 1/8 inch piece of material, single pour, which is the thickness of all the material we have in there. We'll just make sure it's all good and mixed up. We have a little bit of time to work with. There's a lot of air bubbles in there, but we'll try to pour them out. By pour them out, I mean as we pour. Try to get rid of them. I don't want to start moving the material pieces around. I have them positioned kind of the way I wanted. Suppose I could have tacked them down a little bit. Yeah, see, the weight of the resin is kind of moving them. I originally wanted this just to be blue, and I put the pieces of green in there to kind of mix the color up a little bit and give some variation in color. But the green, since it is so bright, may overpower, yeah, it's leaking out of there a little bit. It may overpower the blue and make the blue just not even really shine at all, and we don't want that. So I wanted to use the green pieces sparingly, like I said, to add that extra bit of color. It's okay if it's a little thick, we'll just sand. That's what I think we're going to have to end up doing, because this tape is not holding the way I had hoped, but that's alright. I actually did 2 pours of the polyester. When I unwrapped it, it was still kind of flexible, and it had a tendency to curl up, I guess, as the polyester cured. It shrank a little bit, so I had to kind of press it down to keep it flat. The first pour that leaked all over the place ended up sealing the tape for me, so then when I did the second pour, it worked pretty well. This texture on top was not intended, but that's pretty cool, and I'm going to try to preserve that texture as I work on this. But the pieces all just got jumbled around, and that's not exactly what I wanted. So, lesson learned, if I do this again, more pieces to fill in that empty space. It looks cool, but it would look cooler with more pieces. And maybe some different colors, too, added in, not just the glow-in-the-dark pieces. That way, in the dark, you'd have kind of the shadows of the regular G10 pieces, or even carbon fiber, that weren't glowing. But what is really cool that I wasn't expecting, and I probably should have, was that the glow even extends around the edges and everything. It's a very kind of uneven piece, just because of the way it sort of sat and cured, but that's okay, because we're going to have to sand a lot of this off anyway. That's sort of what I'm worried about. I'm probably going to lose that texture when I do some sanding, and that's going to be a shame. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this textured, or if I'm just going to polish it really nice. Probably just give it a nice polish job. As you can see, I intended this to be a hinderer size, you know, forget about the blade there. Hinderer-sized scale piece, and I think that the majority of the pieces are going to be inside the scale area, which is going to be good. Probably should have pushed these ones up a little bit, but got what we got at this point. Now it's just hard as a rock, so that's good. It's going to be really easy to work with from this point forward. I think what I'm going to have to probably do is just sand this flat so I have a nice, even piece to work with. Because see the thickness, the difference there, if you look at the height above the glow-in-the-dark pieces on that end versus that end. Well, this is how the first attempt came out. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's not what I was looking for. And you guys who watch the channel might remember seeing this when we did the Shit Hits the Fan mystery box unboxing just a few days ago. So what happened was all the pieces moved around when I poured the resin. It kind of changed the look of it a little bit. The G10 piece ended up separating as I was grinding too, and that's fine. It ended up giving us a clear polyester resin piece. You can see the liner right underneath it. I kind of like the color that the G10 gave it, but I'm not happy with the look of this one. Now, I've got some positive comments just from the look of it on the last video, but this didn't really meet my expectations. This was a good first attempt and helped me sort of figure out how we're going to do this. So this is part one. So now that I know basically the process and how to do this, I'm going to make another one, and I'm going to make it better. More pieces involved. I think I'm also going to not just use glow-in-the-dark pieces. I'm going to throw in some carbon fiber pieces too, just to give it a little more color contrast in the light, but then in the dark, you'll still have your glow-in-the-dark pieces that shine, but in daylight, it'll have more going on than just this. What's really cool that I kind of didn't expect, was that the glow also comes out around all the edges, since it's basically just clear. The reason it's not shiny, crystal clear is because this is just a rough sand. This is not polished or anything. So on the finished product, it'll be all polished up, very fine sanded to about 3000 grit, maybe even higher. You can see some of the grind lines in there too. But it'll be crystal clear. We can do it nice and shiny, or we can even rough it up even more to make it more opaque. I think this works really well, and the fit of the scale is perfect. It's actually not perfect. I lied. But I mean, in terms of functionality, it's perfect. You see here, I just have it tacked on with a couple of frame screws without the third, just to make it easier to get on and off. I haven't countersunk anything. This is just, work in progress. But I like the general idea. I like where we're going with it. It's just, it is not what I had in mind. But let me show you how it looks when it glows in the dark. Well, here we are in a dark room, just charged up with the black light a little bit. You can kind of get the sense what I was talking about before with the green a little overpowering the blue. You can see the brighter blue here. That's the Moonglow Ice Blue. The duller blue, it almost looks like it's not glowing at all. That's the Kirnite Blue. But the Kirnite Blue it gets lost among all the other stuff. So I'm not going to include the Kirnite Blue in the next project. There's Moonglow and there's Kirnite Green, and they're almost indistinguishable from each other. I use the Kirnite Starlight Neon Green just to give it a different color contrast in the daylight color anyway from the regular Moonglow Green, so it looked a little different. I love that all around the edges though you can see the glowing coming through, which is really cool. It kind of lights up the whole scale. And I especially like it, it always looks brighter on camera than it is in real life. I really like the look of it in real life. I like the look of it on camera too. I think that's a really different, kind of cool look for it. I'd like to eliminate the blank space in between glowing elements though on the next one. So you'll still have some blank spaces because of the carbon fiber pieces. They'll look really cool in the daylight, but they'll be tighter packed, you know, glow element, less blank space all around. All right, guys, I hope you like what you see so far and what we've got going on. I'm going to start working on the new and improved version of this. Like I had said before, there's some slight imperfections in this scale. I haven't worked with this resin before, and what you find when you start working with different materials is that each one of them is a little bit different. They grind different, they cut different, and you got to get really used to working with them to get them. You can see kind of right here, it's just not perfect. It's easy to forget that different materials work differently, and you know, you could end up over grinding and sanding and just making small little mistakes. So this is far from finished, this scale anyway. However, when this one is done, if you guys are willing to accept some slight imperfections in it, if anybody does want this one might be up for grabs as a giveaway. We'll see. But please join me for part 2 of this video, where we'll see this scale finished, and then the 2.0 version, where hopefully the finished product kind of meets the vision and expectations are met. All right, thanks guys for watching, and I'll be back again real soon.